Welcome to the broadcast, everybody. Since the scandal broke last week involving Susan Hussey and Ngozi Fulani, I had so many hundreds upon thousands of comments from you graciously thanking me for being the first person to make a defence of Susan Hussey and the first person to express disappointment in Prince William and Kensington Palace. Before we continue, please understand that I remain a loyal admirer of Prince William and the Waleses, and I would thank you kindly to keep any comments about Prince William kind. I know that many of you, like me, are frustrated and angry with Kensington Palace, but this being Prince William's first major misstep as far as I'm concerned, please temper your emotions, because I still love him, but I want to issue this letter to him as a warning shot. A warning shot about a very dangerous path that both Kensington Palace and Buckingham Palace might be tempted to take, which I think would lead to total destruction. So it's in that spirit that I share this letter with you, because I know that so many of you don't have the same platform, and I want to share the feelings of those of us that chime together in agreement on this subject. Dear Prince William, your godmother, Lady Susan Hussey's comments to Ngozi Fulani at Buckingham Palace last week were totally harmless and have been blown entirely out of proportion by a bloodthirsty, illogical and virtue-signalling faction of a minority of our society and some of our media. The vast majority of the monarch's subjects understand that the entire scenario that has been painted is nothing more than a mischief, a nonsense on stilts, concocted by those who claim qualities of kindness and unity, while simultaneously acting with abject cruelty towards an innocent woman of staunch good character and reputation, and while sowing division. This is not just my view, but the view of hundreds of thousands of decent, clear-minded people of all colours, ages and backgrounds. In fact, I found it heartwarming to see many young black British people and those of colour step forward into the harsh glare of modern media platforms to voice their support for Lady Susan and their contempt for the unsavoury and sinister allegations brought forward all too eagerly by Ngozi Fulani. The reimagined Ngozi Fulani, who began life as Marlene Headley, has form as somebody who has already made up her mind with regards to your family, who she is alleged to have accused of domestic violence on social media in relation to the claims of your brother and sister-in-law. To remind you, in the wake of this scandal over the last few days, a Kensington Palace spokesman told reporters, "This is a matter for Buckingham Palace, but as the Prince of Wales' spokesperson, I appreciate you're all here and understand you'll all want to ask about it, so let me address it head on. I was really disappointed to hear about the guests' experience at Buckingham Palace last night. Obviously, I wasn't there, but racism has no place in our society. The comments were unacceptable, and it's right that the individual has stepped aside with immediate effect." He added that the Prince is aware of the comments and thinks the course of action taken is correct. Your Royal Highness, while I understand that you were not directly quoted, and also understand that as this crisis unfolded, you were busy with the Boston Earthshot project and no doubt wanted to act as swiftly as possible, that your spokesperson took it upon themselves to declare that Lady Susan's comments were unacceptable is not only untrue, but inflammatory, incendiary, and downright unjust. These words should never have been uttered in your name or under the auspices of Kensington Palace. let alone reducing your godmother and the late Queen Elizabeth's close confidant to an individual. No, her comments were not unacceptable. Not to anybody with their head screwed on. They were unacceptable to the likes of Marlene Headley, reimagined and trussed up as Ngozi Fulani. Unacceptable to the likes of folk who equate your own family's actions with domestic violence. Folk who use a word like abuse to describe an elderly woman moving hair out of the way to glance at somebody's name badge, however misguided or inappropriate that may or may not be, depending on your own outlook. Because she was taking an interest in a guest. And why would Lady Susan take such an interest in the heritage of anybody, especially Ngozi Fulani? Why did she make a direct beeline for her at the reception? Could it not possibly be because she wanted to ensure that Miss Fulani experienced a warm reception and tried to strike up small talk with her as she would do for anybody and everybody, as she has done flawlessly for 62 years, without complaint? Perhaps she brought heritage into the conversation and made such a bold inquiry because Miss Fulani was dressed from head to toe as if she'd raided a fancy dress shop, chucking every stereotypical garment that she felt represented Mother Africa onto herself. So much so that many of the people of colour that I've heard from on this very platform have accused her interpretation of African dress as misguided caricature. Now, with a fondness for the dressing up box myself, I don't admonish the woman for expressing herself however she chooses. I encourage the fantasy. But why would anybody swan around her wrapped in teeth and a leopard print flag as if they aren't thriving in the attention or willing it on, together with arousing the natural curiosity that most people have for other humans and their influences? It's also true that Lady Susan, having accompanied the late Queen on an infinite amount of tours overseas to every continent and every nation under the sun, might have been angling to find some common ground or talking point when she allegedly inquired about your people. It's more than likely that she has met and known and befriended peoples from all over the globe and perhaps wanted to share in some knowledge or discussion. Only the most cynical ears would receive such an inquiry as a grave insult and then go and crow about the encounter as if it were a criminal act on social media. The charity or organisation that Fulani was representing on this occasion concerns violence against African and Caribbean women. If Lady Susan's line of questioning was indeed aggressive or clumsy or old-fashioned by modern standards, and if her touching of hair was intrusive, then that is an issue of rudeness or perceived rudeness. But rudeness is rudeness. It's not racism. And the two should not be conflated. It appears that in the world of Ms. Fulani, you can conflate words like abuse and domestic violence with other more innocent words and deeds, and reimagine them to your own design. Create your own reality. Paint your own pictures, as your own sister-in-law might say. Recollections may vary. Claims of racism should always be taken seriously and investigated. But how can one take these claims of racism seriously when Sister Space allegedly already accused the palace of racism simply because there were no people of colour on the balcony at Buckingham Palace during the Jubilee? Did it not occur to them that the two main reasons for this omission are simply that only the heirs and their families appeared on the balcony during the final appearance, at the time that being Charles, William and George, and their immediate families? And at any other time, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex would have appeared and been feted just as they were during their wedding celebrations and beyond, had they not left royal duties and commercialised their feelings for financial profit and in the name of retribution towards the very same family. as we're even seeing them do this week with the new Netflix global event. The fact that these people default to accusations of racism when there is scant evidence of it should be quite enough to temper your responses to these crafty, malicious, or deluded complaints. Fulani speaks of kindness, how she never intended to reveal the name of your 83-year-old godmother, who from all reports is crushed. She never intended to reveal her name, but somehow thought that by describing her as Lady S.H., oh so cryptic was that, she thought by describing her that way that the alleged culprit would remain incognito. Well, you should know how this feels yourself, Your Royal Highness, after your own brother smeared your entire family and their reputation by accusing and then refusing to name racist elements of your own family, a claim that you denied yourself. In the following days, when heckled, you stated, "No, we are not a racist family." Why then could the same courtesy not be extended to your own godmother, at least until there had been time to gather the facts and have them investigated? Many of your most ardent supporters now are concerned with the reaction and the words emanating from your own Kensington Palace spokesperson. When you play into the hands of those who wish only harm and damage to your royal legacy and the institution you represent, and when you disappoint the swathes of people who support you, you are in perilous territory. I've been a steadfast supporter of you and your wife in your roles as Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and now as Prince and Princess of Wales. Your tireless work and good character has been as impeccable as any of us could expect and as flawless as royalty gets. You are a credit to your parents and to our late Queen Elizabeth, Sovereign Lady of happy memory. But your response to this week's drama was ill-advised and reactionary. It must stop immediately. If you continue in this vein, you will hemorrhage support from those loving supporters that were seen in their millions, both home and abroad, who made their affections so boldly known after the passing of our beloved Elizabeth. You deserve every good wish for the life you have and will dedicate to us, your loyal subjects in waiting. But stop this nonsense. It's pandering. Pandering to lunatics. Have you lost the plot as well? Have you drunk the Kool-Aid? Play to the crowds that love and support you. Do not enter into these mischievous games. You'll lose. It is a certainty. And they know it. That is why you're being ensnared into this game. They know it. It is why Lady Susan was lured into it. Well, perhaps your spokesperson spoke too rashly on your behalf. We will likely never know what exactly you approved of and didn't approve of in their remarks. But it's too late. The comments are out of the bag now and in print and have been widely seen. And in my opinion, they are inhumane and disregard the reputation and feelings of Lady Susan Hussey, who has done no wrong, and yet is made to feel as if she is a villain and must skulk away into the shadows and apologise for making a simple, everyday inquiry after giving a lifetime of service. Petronella Wyatt wrote this week, and I quote from her, "Susan Hussey has never knowingly offended anyone in her life. She upholds a clean tradition of honesty and equity. She possesses the milk of human kindness by the quart. This morning, a mutual friend told me she is shattered and heartbroken and will never recover. The wasteland that is now her life will be far more devastating than any injury done to Miss Fulani, who, far from being the sensitive plant she portrays herself as, is currently taking herself on a tour of every television studio in London. Susan Hussey never sought publicity or the acclaim of the yelling multitudes. She abhors discrimination and once ticked me off for an article I wrote about Italians on the grounds that it was both racist and unkind. There's tremendous pressure now to behave in accordance with a particular bourgeois stereotype enforced by social media and people like Ms. Fulani. society, and now it seems that the royal family will make you conform, come what may, otherwise you will be pilloried and put in the dock. Your Royal Highness, I urge you to reconsider your stance. I urge you to place Susan Hussey unapologetically back on royal duty, if she so wishes, and if she were to accept an apology from Kensington Palace and from you. Decency must be restored, and the finest way to do that would be to restore this good woman to her new role as a lady of the household. Going under the public radar, as she has done for 62 years, despite being the late Queen's constant companion, with her name only making headlines at the age of 83 once she's quit, or been forced to quit, her job, occupation and livelihood. Well, this should illustrate, in no uncertain terms, this woman's pedigree, this woman's honour, and the debt you owe her and her ilk. While most of your supporters understand that ruthless decisions must be made by those in positions of power and leadership on occasion, there is no excuse for ruthless decisions that are inhumane and ignorant and play to the worst mischief makers within our society. When they go gutter low, you should be holding your head palace high, not stooping to dwell in the atmosphere of these gutter snipes. As revealed on your drinking mug, your nickname among colleagues is Big Willie. And due to your stature and big heart and other endowments, that is how I often refer to you. I remain a loyal supporter. But don't take our loyalty for granted. My dear, many of us do not respect those who snivel and bend, or jump to lunatic commands and unreasonable demands. This mistake must be a one-off miscalculation. If snivelling apologies and rash statements become your modus operandi, it shall be a very sad case of Big Willie, little balls. Don't let it happen. Thank you for joining me on the broadcast today. I appreciate your company. I know it's been slightly different in tone and style today, but I thought it was very important to express these feelings, not just on my behalf, but also because I know that so many of you feel the same way about this matter and are smarting from it. So I will see you in the next broadcast. My tip jar is in the description box below, and I thank you most sincerely. Until next time, goodbye.